Bubba Wallace almost won at San Diego, but one loose wheel may now cost 23XI Racing 2 crew members for the next 2 races. And that is the painful part of this whole story. Bubba drove one of the best road course races of his Cup career, helped give 23XI Racing a massive 1-2 finish with Corey Heim winning, and still left Naval Base Coronado frustrated because the number 23 team knows this could have been even bigger. The result was second place. The recovery was incredible. But the incident in the middle of the race is now the problem, because Bubba Wallace lost a right front wheel on track, served a 2-lap penalty during the race, and based on NASCAR's rulebook and recent precedents, suspensions are likely coming for members of the 23XI pit crew. So today, we are breaking down everything around the suspension call, how Bubba Wallace somehow recovered to finish second at Naval Base Coronado, why second place still was not enough for him, what NASCAR's rulebook says about a wheel coming off beyond pit road, and why Denny Hamlin believes this race actually proved how far Bubba and the number 23 team have come on road courses. The San Diego street course was already one of the wildest races of the season. It was NASCAR's first Cup race at Naval Base Coronado, a temporary street course inside an active military base, and the whole day had a survival feel from the start. Shane Van Gisbergen and Connor Zilisch were wiped out in a huge restart crash. Austin Hill's mistake changed the entire front of the race. Kevin Magnussen and Noah Gragson had a heated confrontation. Tyler Reddick had a shot to win and lost it late. And Corey Heim, in just his early Cup career, came through and scored his first ever NASCAR Cup Series victory. But quietly, maybe the most impressive drive of the race came from Bubba Wallace. He did not win, but considering what happened to him, second place almost felt unbelievable. Bubba started 12th, moved forward, and looked genuinely competitive on a road course. That alone is worth stopping on, because for years, road courses were not where people expected Bubba Wallace to shine. He has always been stronger on super speedways and certain intermediate tracks, while road courses were usually about survival, track position, and trying to limit damage. San Diego was different. The number 23 Toyota had speed. Bubba had confidence. He was aggressive without looking out of control, and at one point, he drove straight toward the front and looked like a legitimate contender to win the race. Then came the mistake that changed everything. During the race, Bubba's right front wheel came off while he was out on the track after a pit stop. That means the wheel was not properly secured when he left pit road. Under NASCAR rules, that is one of the most serious pit crew mistakes a team can make, because a loose or detached wheel is not just a performance problem, it is a safety issue. Bubba was forced to serve a 2-lap penalty during the race. In most Cup races, that would have been the end of his shot. 2 laps down on a street course should bury you. You should not come back from that and finish second. But San Diego was chaotic enough, and Bubba's car was strong enough that he fought his way back into the race. And that is where the emotion gets complicated. On one hand, it was a huge day. Bubba finished second. Corey Heim won, 23XI. Racing's got a 1-2 finish. Bubba moved up in the standings and gave himself more cushion in the chase fight. On the other hand, Bubba knew a win was sitting there. After the race, he was honest about that frustration. He said, "I was super frustrated. So many races this year had results with asterisk marks besides them, like the what ifs." That is the line that explains Bubba's entire season. It feels like every good run has had something attached to it. A wreck, a penalty, contact, bad timing, a mistake. Something that forces the team to ask what could have happened if the race had simply gone clean. And San Diego became another one of those. Bubba also said, "After every race, we do a debrief. I hate it. I hate it for my crew. This one little mistake cost us the next couple of weeks." That last part is the big thing. The next couple of weeks, Bubba knows what is likely coming. He knows the rule. He knows the precedent. He knows NASCAR has suspended pit crew members for wheels coming off this season already. So even after a second place finish, the number 23 team has to wait for the penalty report. Before we get into exactly what NASCAR's rulebook says and why suspensions are likely, take a second to support NASCAR Central. This is still a new channel pushing towards 6,000 subscribers, and the goal for this video is 100 likes. If you enjoy these NASCAR breakdowns, hit like, share the video, and subscribe. It really helps the channel grow. Now here is the big issue for 23XI. NASCAR's rulebook says that a lost tire beyond pit road results in a 2-lap penalty and a 2-race suspension for 2 pit crew members. That is the key part. Bubba already served the 2-lap penalty during the race, but the penalty report could still bring suspensions for 2 members of the number 23 pit crew. Nothing was officially confirmed immediately after the race, but based on the rule and recent precedent, it feels much more like a matter of when than if. We have seen NASCAR handle this situation before. Earlier this season, 2 members of Ross Chastain's number 1 Trackhouse crew were suspended after his right rear wheel came off at COTA. Then, after the Coca-Cola 600, 2 members of the number 78 Live Fast Motorsports team were suspended after Catherine Legge's right front wheel came off during the final stage. So if NASCAR follows the same standard here, 23XI Racing should expect 2 crew members from Bubba's team to miss the next 2 races. And to be clear, this is not about Bubba Wallace being suspended as the driver. This is about the number 23 team and the pit crew responsible for the wheel. Bubba paid the race penalty on track. The crew members would pay the rulebook penalty afterward. That matters because the headline sounds dramatic and it is serious, but the likely punishment is not Bubba being parked. It is 2 pit crew members being suspended, which still matters a lot because pit crews are built on timing, rhythm, and chemistry. Losing 2 people for Sonoma and the next race could hurt the number 23 team at exactly the wrong time. And Sonoma is not some throwaway weekend. After what Bubba showed at San Diego, Sonoma suddenly feels like an opportunity. He said after the race that he was trying to look at the positives, even while the missed win bothered him. He said, "Good rebound for our team. I just gotta keep busting my ass and maybe something will go my way. But I guess I gotta look at it from a glass half full, but on to Sonoma next weekend." That is the right mindset, but you can tell he is fighting himself a little bit. He knows second place was a good result. He knows the speed was real. He knows the team recovered from disaster. But racers do not like moral victories when they believe they had winning speed. He also said, "I hope I don't go from hero to zero, but I feel confident going into Sonoma and having a good weekend." But yeah, it's an all-in-all good day. Everybody's been talking about it for a year, and now here we are, it's finished. That Sonoma comment is important. For years, a road course weekend might have felt like damage control for Bubba. Now, he is talking about confidence. That is a major change. And that is exactly what Denny Hamlin noticed. Hamlin, as co-owner of 2311 Racing, had a front row view of Bubba's day. He saw the speed, he saw the tire fall off, he saw the penalty, he saw the recovery. And on his Actions Detrimental podcast, he gave Bubba and the number 23 team serious praise. Hamlin said, "Drove straight from 12th or 13th right to P2. Drove to the lead. He was up front. I mean, yeah, that's impressive stuff. And then I was behind him when the tire fell off. Right away I'm thinking, oh crap, that's 2 laps. Damaged splitter, yeah, that's pretty impressive." That is the kind of comment that tells you the performance was not fake. Hamlin is not just hyping his own driver. He watched it unfold. Bubba was not gifted second place. He had to earn it twice. Hamlin also talked about the roller coaster of Bubba's season and the mental side of taking a day like this. He said, "The ride with Bubba, she has some swells, and that roller coaster goes up and down, right? But this is one that, while you maybe think that, man, I could have won if things would have played out correctly, you're probably right. But you've still got to be really happy with the day, if you're him and his team, about the resilience of overcoming adversity." That is exactly the balance. Bubba can be frustrated. He should be frustrated. Winners are supposed to be frustrated when they finish second in a race they think they could have won. But at the same time, the team has to recognize what this says about their development. A 2-lap penalty usually ends your day. Bubba still finished second. That is not normal. Hamlin continued with maybe the strongest praise of the entire story. That's what 90% of NASCAR is about, is that the race never frickin' plays out the way you think it's going to. And then to go to a road course, something that for a while was not his forte by any means. To be the best qualifying 2311 car, probably the best Toyota. Come back for 2 laps, drive through the field, drive to the lead, then you have the tire. You drive back to the front. It's like really, really impressive. And it's something that, like, you've got to take your wins when you get them. And sometimes the wins aren't actually carrying the trophy. It's like, man, I'm proud of myself for how far I've come on road courses. Like, I was a legit contender today. I can't wait to get to Sonoma. You know what I mean? That is probably the most important part of this whole story for Bubba's future. He left San Diego without a win, but he did not leave without progress. He now has proof that he can be a real threat on a road course. He now goes to Sonoma with confidence instead of dread. That confidence matters because the next 2 weeks now come with a challenge. The number 23 team will be without Adam Hartman and Nathan Ricketts. Pit crews are not plug and play at this level. Every stop depends on rhythm, chemistry, timing, and trust. Losing a tire changer and jackman for Sonoma and Chicagoland is not a small thing. And Bubba is in the middle of a playoff fight. He moved up to 11th in the Cup standings after San Diego and has a 67-point cushion on the chase cut line. That is a good spot, but it is not locked. There are still races left. The bubble is tight. Shane Van Gisbergen fell below the line after his San Diego crash. Joey Logano, Brad Keselowski, Ryan Preece, Austin Cindric, Eric Jones, and others are all part of that pressure zone. So Bubba cannot afford for this penalty to start a new slide. The best case scenario is that San Diego becomes a turning point. The team absorbs the suspension, replacements do the job, and Bubba carries that road course speed into Sonoma. The worst case scenario is that the pit crew disruption creates more mistakes and turns a positive race into a short-term problem. That is why this penalty matters more than just 2 names on a report. It comes at a moment when Bubba Wallace finally looked like he had taken a real step forward on road and street courses. Hamlin finished his praise by sharing advice he got as a rookie. That's the only way. Cause my gosh, Mike Ford told me my rookie year, "Denny, if winning is the only thing that brings you happiness, you're going to be one miserable a-hole." He's like, you've got to find little wins. You have to set goals. You have to understand that. Yeah, while you always go to the racetrack thinking, I'm going to win, sometimes you have to change your goals to be a little bit more realistic. You're racing against the best drivers. And this is one where I just see for Bubba Wallace and that 23 team, they ought to pat themselves on the back of just the resilience and just the skill set that Bubba has gained on these types of racetracks. That is the final takeaway. Bubba Wallace did not win San Diego. Corey Heim did. But Bubba may have walked out with something almost as important. Proof that he can be a contender on tracks where people used to count him out. The penalty hurts. Losing 2 crew members hurts. The loose wheel may have cost him a win, but the performance itself should scare the drivers around him. Because if Bubba Wallace can run like that on a street course, then Sonoma suddenly looks very different. different. For more NASCAR stories, penalty updates, driver reactions, and everything happening around the garage, stay with NASCAR Central. Tell me in the comments, should Bubba be proud of second after that recovery, or did the number 23 team let a win slip away at San Diego?